you very much. There is a subtext to that which I see and I'm not threatened by, which is Yunus, finish in 10 minutes. Prove to them that you can. I want to acknowledge all the people that were acknowledged in the first instance by the chairperson, and I won't cover the same ground, mercifully, except to acknowledge that Minister Manuel is here, and we know that he was very busy, and we extracted him through strenuous negotiations that Cyril Ramaphosa wouldn't have matched in the CODESA process to get him here. So, actually, forget time compression, getting Minister Manuel here, because he had so many other commitments. I extracted him from one where the Deputy President, I gather, was going to be the key speaker. So there you are. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, friends, in the first instance, thank you for coming to the launch of the Ikamva Institute, and immediately say that we'd like you to play the full role you and your institution can to significantly advance e-skills and e-literacy in our country and make the Ikamva Institute truly effective. As I'm in an academic environment, I can't help drawing attention to the death last week of renowned cultural theorist and black British intellectual Stuart Hall. His work inspired many of us committed to national liberation, the generation of Trevor Manuel, Ahmad Bawa, and so on, and others of you who are here, of course. He was very influential, really, on those of us committed to national liberation, as I said, anti-racism, anti-sexism, and other progressive causes. Among Hall's key concerns, obviously, was the relationship between race, class, politics, and power. And I think at this meeting, we want to acknowledge his phenomenal contribution and pay tribute to him. ICT, as most of you here would know, is crucial to economic growth, development, and job creation. We need to become, as the new growth part and the NDP urges, a far more effective knowledge economy and information society. Just last month, Minister Manuel and I were at the World Economic Forum. And as I gathered, the main theme there was the remaking of the world, its effect on business, politics, and society. One of the key sub-themes was how and how fast ICT is transforming not just economies, but societies. For example, there's a wonderful thing. In one of the sessions, a UN, Washington-based, I don't think it's UN, but a Washington-based development worker tells us that, you know, obviously we all know this, when you give aid in countries that are in distress, or in areas, regional areas that are in distress, to people who are victims of the distress, often something between 40 and 70% of what you offer in terms of food or grain disappears into the hands of interlocutors or middlemen. Usually it's men, of course, middle people or whatever. And what gets to the poor, maybe 20% and so on. Now, what are they doing with the Syrian refugees? They're going to Lebanon and so on. Instead of sending food and so on, they're giving them a voucher for so many dollars every Friday, I think it is. When they come to the settlement camp, if they don't have a cell phone, they give them a cheap cell phone, it's fine. All that happens is every Friday or so they get a voucher, a credit, for maybe $20 US, say. And they use that to sustain themselves. So the advantage is that, one, it reduces corruption. Two, if not eliminates it. Two, it means that the person or the family has a choice. If you have 3 children, instead of another family that's got adults, you can choose whether you want to buy couscous or rice or milk or bread and the different balances of that. Thirdly, you're in another country like this is Lebanon, presumably, I think it is, that they've gone into many of them. You're supporting the local economy because you're buying from the local store and so on. The Colombian minister saying that with the use of cell phones in the rural areas, the productivity of the emerging small potato farmers increased by 40%. Because they're able to look on their cell phone to work out weather patterns and decide when they're going to reap the crop and or what the different monies they will get are depending on which market in the nearby village they go to and on which day. Now, NEMISA was obviously spoken about in great detail as well, the banking system for those who haven't got banking access via e-technology in Kenya and so on. So there's considerable potential. The cell phone is not just to make SMSs and phone calls of a voice nature. It has this considerable potential that I think the Deputy Minister was speaking of a moment ago. And talking of which, lest you misunderstand, I'm hardly her boss. Actually, she's mine, especially when it comes to Ikamva Institute and its launch. And mind you, I thought it's best I don't come because she's been running this project. And you know what happens? If there's a media guy around or a woman, they won't listen to Stella and the Bene Abrams, though she'll speak more value to you than I would, than quote me, though I know less about what's going on here than she does. So she forced me to be here, and so here I am. So who's the boss, I ask you? But let's come back to what I really wanted to say, which is that we just cannot afford. You go to the World Economic Forum, and it's fascinating actually that other developing countries are engaging, as has been said repeatedly today, with the developed world in a way we're not able to. But we just cannot afford to be left so far behind. ICT has huge, huge potential to reduce the gaps between the poor and the rich. But if not effectively drawn on, it also has just as much potential to increase the divides between the haves and the have-nots, between the connected and the unconnected. That we certainly cannot afford. So it's up to us here and elsewhere. We need to move and move fast. Part of this motion is to go full life to the Ikamva Institute and to do everything we can to deepen and advance e-skills in our country. We need to far more effectively address our e-readiness and tackle our e-skills deficit. We need to make our people more e-astute across socioeconomic, age, gender, or literacy backgrounds. Today we formally launched the Ikamva Institute as a new state-owned company to more effectively harness the range of capacities across government, business, education, civil society, and global development partners. We might, as we move forward, want to consider some form of greater representation of these stakeholders on the board of Ikamva to ensure more effective coordination. Crucially, the launch of this institute gives expression to South Africa Connect, our broadband policy and strategy, which was approved, as you heard, by Cabinet in December. There is increasing evidence to support claims that increases in broadband penetration correlate with economic growth and development, that broadband has the potential to create new jobs, broaden educational opportunities, enhance public service delivery, and rural development. In response to such evidence and to evolving global trends, and in order to meet the diverse needs of the people of our country, the government has developed South Africa Connect. It takes an integrated and cross-cutting, but perhaps more importantly, citizen-centric approach. Interestingly, the UN Human Rights Council decided that access to internet is a basic human right, and the UN Broadband Commission is campaigning that in 2015, when the UN reviews the MDG goals, broadband should be put down as a basic human need, just in the way water, electricity, and sanitation. I see Lumko nodding his head. So no doubt these organizations will also campaign. But this is something we need to raise with President Zuma as well, to actually begin to attune to and push for. South Africa Connect is based on a four-pronged strategy: digital readiness, digital development, digital future, and digital opportunities. In the context of this last prong of our strategy, digital opportunity, that significantly the launch of the Ikamva Institute should be located. And so in essence, I don't know what the title says exactly there, but the talk is really around the Ikamva Institute and digital opportunity. So the high levels of inequality in the country mean that citizens are unable currently to exercise their rights equally and to use the potential of the internet to meet their needs and improve their well-being. Without a critical mass of e-producers, e-workers, e-consumers, e-civil servants, and indeed e-citizens, South Africa would be unable to optimize the benefits of broadband connectivity. The four-pronged strategy adopted in the National Broadband Policy goes beyond previous conceptions of broadband as simply an infrastructure and access challenge to address this problem. Rather, it understands broadband as an ecosystem of networks, obviously, services, applications, content, and most importantly, users, all interdependent and connected, and as functional as the health of the ecosystem permits. Such an approach is essential to understanding the increasing complexity and dynamism of the fast-growing ICT sector and its centrality to other sectors in the economy. For this reason, the broadband policy focuses not only on the critical supply-side aspects of provisioning, but importantly the demand side too. As access to communication comes to mean far more than a voice service on a cell phone, but rather a full range of ways of communicating more cheaply, more effectively, of coordinating your personal life, finding information and better managing your business, of banking, creating knowledge, and innovating, the importance of the country having the individual and collective skills base to realize these possibilities becomes critical to our success. So the National Broadband Strategy identifies the necessary points of policy intervention, a critical one being skills development, to leverage the linkages in the ICT ecosystem in order to create a more equitable information society and knowledge economy. South Africa Connect seeks to mobilize the capability, resources and energies of the public and private sectors and civil society in order to connect South Africans to each other, as well as South Africa to the continent and the world. We need supply-side skills to meet the diverse needs of the producers of the different broadband elements: engineers, economists, accountants, technicians, content producers, software and application developers, so that the economic and innovative potential of broadband can be exploited, as the DM focused on a moment ago. The high skills required by the sector, moreover, and the user skills necessary for social and economic inclusion will be targeted in schools, universities, and community access centers. Raising these digital opportunities requires that demand is stimulated and use and uptake increased through the promotion of local and relevant content and applications. We need to ensure that multiple development and incentive programs in these areas form part of the broadband and funding plans. And lest the ex-Minister of Finance, lest the ex-Minister of Finance gets nervous about this, it's the private sector who's going to deliver a lot of those fundings. We're going to create the conditions. It's an open access wholesale network and so on. If the chair allowed me an extra 20 minutes, I would go through all that, but Minister Manuel's the keynote speaker, not me, and I don't want to overshadow him, because one doesn't know where he's going to be after April, May this year, and well, I won't say more, because that will become, if anybody's from the media here, that will become the main story. But the Minister of Communications said that Minister Manuel may not be back. As if the Minister of Communications know where he will be. Well, I know where I'll be, in Sunduzi, Pietermaritzburg, just down the road. But whatever title or post I get or not, that's fine. We need to ensure, now I'm not saying I'm not available for appointments. Before that, stories, this Minister of Communications, Yunus Carrim lately, I've just got appointed in July. He's saying, by the way, probably expecting, since what the city press says there's something to go by, he's not coming back, therefore he's creating the space to say, well actually it's not that I wasn't made to come back, I chose not to come back. No, I'm just merely observing that I don't want to overshadow Trevor Manuel. So, let me finish. Right? I mean, the rest of it is drivel, really. What do I want to say? I think the main points are made, Stella. I hope I'm done well, because you'll judge me here. Let me tell you, one last thing. I'll put this on the website, so if you want to read it, you can read it, right? The ICT people, there's no reason for me to have to go through 9 minutes now. I've got a minute more. You can read it on the website, right? I will just say, by way of conclusion, that there's all these matters that we have to address. Those that I mentioned, and the page and a half or so that you'll find on the website. So what you can do is don't read the whole thing, since you've been here, save time. If you want to read it, start at page 5. The words beginning in parallel. Write that down, please, on your computer. And then you can read it till the last section of page 6, which I read to you now. In addressing these matters, whatever these matters are, because you don't know all of them, we have seen a number of government departments, right, which recognize the importance of developing capacity for the information age, who develop programs around the broad skills agenda in order to advance their own mandates, but don't coordinate. Surprise, surprise. So we need Ikamva to do that. We, the Deputy Minister and I, need to ensure the different departments coordinate. Now, obviously, some of this silo operation is understandable, but much of it isn't 19 years or 20 years later. But we need to ensure that there's alignment across and within the key government departments, including DPSA, which is why we invited them, the Department of Rural Affairs, among others, and we can go on, but I'll skip that. I'm also very pleased that the heads of these allied departments now are beginning to understand this matter and have expressed a keenness to collaborate with the Institute in this very important work. Our recently released green paper on ICT policy sets about creating an environment for the optimal development of the sector for the betterment of our society and economy. The deadlines for comments on this ICT green paper are the 24th of March, but we are having public hearings nationally, the national public hearings rather, on the 3rd of March in Johannesburg, but we're coming to KZN and other provinces and so on. So there's a lot that has to be done, and the launch of this institute is crucial, and your role in contributing to its success even more so, I thank you.